Hello my fellow Earthlings! Today we are going to get the Platinum Trophy for Expedition 33. Yeah, I guess this game is quite famous because it got pretty much every award on the Game Awards show, so yeah, I don't need to tell you that this game is good. It is a turn-based RPG, but not just a simple turn-based RPG. It has some counter mechanics. You have to jump over some attacks, and there is even like a different counter mechanic. So yeah, it has a bunch of different mechanics and time-based attacks with like quick times events, which we also thought wouldn't ever get a return in any game. But this game does it right, and the combat always feels satisfying whenever you enter a battle. This also means that you don't need to overly grind and be over-leveled to win the fights. If you can counter any attack right, you just need to get good and understand when to counter the attacks. The one thing you need to keep in mind, if whenever the enemies are doing their combos, you need to parry or jump over every attack in that combo to finish with a counter attack at the very end. I think this hat is way too small to me, so I'm just going to take it off for the rest of the video. Now the first character we get to control is Gustav. Every character plays differently, and Gustav has a prosthetic arm that can do stun on the enemies if you hit them. This is the first trophy I unlock, but Gustav has also another mechanic. The more attacks you do, the stronger his prosthetic arm is getting. So it is better to use this effect when his prosthetic arm is charged up completely. After I defeat this first mime, that is also a missable trophy in the first area, we can progress the story further and start our expedition to finish off the paintress so she doesn't erase anyone anymore, and we can protect our loved ones.
Thanks to you, Expedition 33. Clair Obscur.
I don't want to talk about the story too much because it has a lot of twists and turns. This is a game you should experience on your own, and its story too. I reach the first boss where I get to use the overcharged power of the prosthetic arm, which gives me a trophy. This boss is pretty much the first roadblock to teach you how to parry and dodge. These are the only two mechanics at the beginning of the game that are available. As you progress in the game, more and more mechanics get unlocked for the battle. Oh, and of course, yeah, I did play most of the game on hard mode, so I had to learn how to counter the bosses, dodge their attacks, and all of those things. The next one I unlocked was with Maya. I was able to mark one of the enemies and use an attack in the virtuous state. That's her gimmick. She has different types of buffs depending on which stance she is using. The best one is the virtuous stance, of course, because she can deal 200% damage. That's insane, even early on. She's the most busted character in the game, but we'll talk about that later. This game has a whole gimmick around treasure chests. The closest game that comes to mind is God of War. There are some similar chests that are locked like this. You need to destroy some force fields on the map, and after that you can pick up your reward. Dune is our black mage. Depending on what abilities she's doing, a different colored orb is shining in her little thingy over there. I don't even know what it's called. I unlocked the perfect flow trophy. I'm not even sure what I did, but yeah, during the second boss fight I was able to do this. This boss has a gimmick where he generates shields around himself, so you're supposed to destroy the shields before you can do some damage. There are more enemies in the game that can do this, and as you progress in the game, even more buffs and debuffs are going to be revealed in the boss fights. So you have to keep an eye on those two, not on just the game mechanics itself. After you beat this boss, you enter the overworld and you are able to access your camp. In the camp you can upgrade your character's abilities and even how much items you're able to use in battle and outside of battle too. You can upgrade your Lumina skills. These are the skill points for your characters to equip different kinds of abilities. This is the most important one to upgrade, so you can have as many skills as possible for your characters. I'm sure you noticed that you picked up some stones. The stones are used to upgrade the Lumina points and your items and your weapons as well. The only bad thing is that you can only access your camp from the overworld. You won't be able to enter the camp from the expedition flags, which would have made this a bit easier, so you'll need to exit the dungeon you're in if you want to upgrade your characters before a boss fight. In the camp you're also able to trigger some scenes with the characters in your party. Later on in the story this will be important to upgrade some of their skills, but for now you only get to know them and hang out with them. And I would say this part of the game is quite easy. It can be a little frustrating until you get used to every enemy's timing, how to counter them and all that, but other than that it's not too bad. Most of the time I didn't grind, so most of the bosses and even the normal enemies could one-shot me, so I had to counter everything. But I was able to progress further even through this tournament and the boss before that and reach Esquier, who is our mount. He's going to be able to access more of the map as we progress the story and upgrade his abilities. So it is important to keep track of his skills and quests that are tied to him, but you won't be able to access that until much later. And we enter the next boss fight. It is the first two-phase boss fight that we need to beat, and I actually unlocked the maximization trophy that is tied to Sayel. I can't really explain what I did here to do this, but I used random abilities that I had equipped on her based on her moon phases. You eventually unlock this trophy, so just use her, I guess, and you'll eventually get lucky. As I said, I did start the game on hard mode, and these fights were the biggest roadblock in the game. This is not the only two-phase boss fight you have to win. And the biggest problem is if you lose during phase 2, you have to beat him in phase 1 again. The enemies have a lot more health and they can one-shot you very easily if you don't grind. And if you don't figure out which pictos are the best suited to beat these bosses easily. And you would need to fast travel all the way out and get to camp, so you can equip and upgrade your weapons and do whatever you want to do to make these fights easier. It's funny how things turned out, because before the next boss fight a new character joins our party, who's Verso. He has a mechanic where he fills up this combo gauge and you're supposed to fill it up all the way to S. You do this by doing more damage and not getting hit with him, so you always have to parry with him to do more damage. This boss infects you with the inverted status, means you won't be able to heal during this boss fight at all. It shouldn't be a big issue because, yeah, if you know how to counter it, you will be able to beat it in no time. But yeah, this is another big roadblock that you have to learn how to counter, just like any other boss in the game. At the end of the next chapter we meet Monoko, whatever his name is. He is the blue mage of the party, so he can learn abilities from all the enemies we encounter. And he also teaches us how to perform our ultimate attack. So it is kinda interesting that even so late in the game we get to learn some new game mechanics of this game. I would say after this Monaco is a permanent party member because you're trying to collect all of the enemy's feet to learn all those transformations and skills. And as you use Monaco in your party, you should also unlock the trophy that is tied to him, the game mechanic one, where you switch around with these cards. As far as I understand it, some of the abilities get stronger when the right card is displayed, because every ability that he has is tied to some kind of color or whatever. But yeah, I just used him and got this trophy without even trying too hard. So there's that. I know I haven't really talked about character builds a whole lot, but for the main story it doesn't really matter how you build your character. The game expects you to pretty much counter and dodge everything. So yeah, this is another boss fight where that comes into full effect. I guess the thing I would like to mention, if you're doing your finishing move, you get an extra turn, so that's good. If you want to finish off these masks or whatever this boss summons to heal its health, he also has an attack where he can kick your party member out of the battle or delete them, or I don't even know what happens to them. So that's an attack you would need to learn how to avoid. Other than that, this boss fight I don't really remember being too difficult, but yet some of those counter timings for those masks when he summons them. And the main thing, as I said before, is to prevent him to heal himself after he drops his health halfway down. That's when he first uses that attack, so keep an eye on that. Now this is pretty much the end of the game. You need to create a strong weapon to enter the final dungeon where the paintress is, and for that you need to beat two big Neverons. The first one has two phases, where in the first phase, at least for me, it was easier to counter him, and this is one of those bosses that does large combos and you cannot miss any of them if you want to survive or counter it. Phase 2, I didn't really know how to counter, so mostly I just dodged his attacks and tried to survive, slowly taking his health down as the battle progressed, so I wasn't really sure how else I was able to beat this boss. I remember that he does get shields if he hits you, so yeah, here too you're pretty much trying to not get hit either, countering him or just dodging his attacks, which is a bit safer. But yeah, you can tell I'm still quite underleveled, because after beating the first big Neveron, I finally reach level 33. The other large Neveron fight, I remember that she can cast Charm on you, which immobilizes one of your characters, so you are pretty much not able to use them. She is majestic to fight, at least there's only one phase for this fight, so she's a bit easier, but it seems that she has more health, and her attacks revolve around dancing and summoning big buildings and hitting you with them. It's more fun to experience the fight than explain it, so yeah, I'm not going to go too much depth into this, so let's just skip to the next part. You get a trophy for just reaching the monolith. And for now, just enjoy the epic music and make sure to prepare for this area, because there is no more holding back anymore.
If saving you means losing you, then so be it. We only need to incapacitate him.
We'll find a way to kill him.
think that was the best demonstration to tell how good the game's music is. In this dungeon there are two bosses at the very end. This old dude, we already fought him before, but this time he's even stronger. Won't be able to prevent him from healing his health back after he drops to the halfway point. He fights similarly, so it is easy to learn his patterns and counter him, but yeah, he was the last boss I was able to beat on hard mode. After this you fight the paintress, and the paintress is even more difficult. I don't want to go too much into that because the paintress is another insane boss fight that you would need to experience on your own. She has some crazy attacks, she summons attacks from a different dimension or what even, I don't even know what she's doing. And after you beat the paintress, you're able to break the damage cap of the game, so that's a cool thing. It's more like a fourth wall breaking thing that you enable from a menu. For the most part I capped the damage cap under 100k, which I was like, okay, I probably won't be able to do more damage anyway, but this is something I forgot about, because for some of the bosses later on this would have been relevant. I was not able to figure out why I was not able to go beyond that damage. So yeah, just keep in mind that you can make the game even harder if you desire to do that after you beat the paintress. And this is where finally the game opens up and you're able to explore everything you missed and do pretty much any quest or side quest and collect all the collectibles. Now, I did mention this before, in the camp you can hang out with the other party members, and as you level them up they learn more of their finishing moves. Sayel is the only one, as far as I can tell, that doesn't have a quest to learn her final finishing move, so her trophy was the first one I've gotten. On the world map there are also some mini games you can find. This one was the last one I needed to complete, where I need to climb this tower without getting hit. These are different, so very different than the normal mini games. Some are more like parkour, other one you need to parry some attacks back. So yeah, these are also surprising. They don't take a long time to complete, but they're fun at least. And I was too weak, as far as I could tell, to do any of the other character quests. So I went and finished off the final boss of the game, which was another epic battle. In the background you can also see the giant Neverons fight and the paintress fight. It was crazy. And the music is also epic in this fight. So this is definitely a good fight to finish off the main story. After beating the final boss, I was able to finish off the other characters' quests. Most of these quests end in a hard boss fight, except for Mayel's, who has her own dungeon to explore, and for everyone you get a trophy. Even for Esquier you get an extra mission where you need to get a stone for him or a mask for him, I don't even remember, that he learns the ability to dive underwater. The good thing is, after you talk to these characters in your camp, their quests are always displayed on the map, so you can do them anytime you want and pretty much in any order you want. As far as I can tell, they are pretty much on the same difficulty, if that makes sense. And it's no longer obvious what the right order of operation is. So next I just started to collect all the music and the expedition notes, or whatever they are. On the way I encountered this boss and defeated it without taking a hit. And there are some other Neverons that are big and strong. They are also on the world map just roaming around. So you need to beat all of these for a trophy. So one of the harder ones is this guy you are seeing on the screen. He also has one of the best rewards in the game. I think it gives you an extra turn. I don't really have a good strategy for you. I just learned his pattern, how to counter him. So I just eventually beat him like that after I leveled up. I don't even know what level I was, maybe around 70. I guess you'll see at the end after I beat the boss. Oh yeah, I guess I was under level 60 because after this I reached level 66 as I fought this random merchant. Yeah, if you defeat the merchants you get better items that you can buy from them, so you should always defeat all the merchants that you encounter. There aren't a lot of side quests in this game. One of them is to complete the quests of all these white Neveron monsters that you encounter. You can do them relatively fast once you reach the game's end. It could take a bit longer because some of them you need to visit later on. This is one of those collectibles I was talking about. There are some little these thingies, I don't even know what they are called. You can collect them and in the camp you get a reward for this. You can destroy big walls, if that makes sense. There aren't really a lot of walls you can destroy on the world map or on some dungeons. I would say this boss is a lot harder to actually catch than fight. It itself is relatively easy to do once you ace it into one of the map's corners, because you encounter monsters like this that run away from you and you are supposed to chase them into a hole or whatever so they can't run away from you. Normally those mini bosses or enemies run away anyway after you encounter them. This one doesn't seem to run away, just absorb enemies' HP that he summons, so you are supposed to kill the small ones before you fight the big one. But other than that, this fight isn't hard. Yeah, you see in most of the fights I like to use fire because fire does extra damage on the enemies. That's the main element I was using throughout the whole game. But even if the enemies weren't weak to it, I always casted fire so they burn for extra damage. And I think I was just grinding in this area for a while because you can get upgrades for your weapons and eventually you will need to upgrade a weapon to the max. Eventually I casted my strongest finishing move and unlocked this trophy, so that's something. And the boss that was hiding to upgrade one of my weapons to the max was this flying Neveron that can make shields on itself and has some longer combos that are really hard to counter or do whatever you want to do. I did learn to counter his attacks and I slowly whittled down his shields. There is an ability that you can pierce through these shields. I don't know how it's called. I didn't bother to find it, so I just slowly whittled its health down. It also likes to absorb your MP at pretty much any opportunity it gets, so the most part of this battle you won't have any MP. It just takes a very long time and some of these counters such a small window to react to that it's absolutely ridiculous, and he will one-shot you even on the normal difficulty if you don't know how to counter his attacks. Next, I finally did what my initial plan was, to upgrade one of the weapons to the max. It doesn't matter which one you do, but there is a weapon for Mael that puts her into the virtuous stance. We're going to talk about Mael's build and why the virtuous stance is so powerful. Or work at all because this is New Game Plus and I don't even know if I can beat anything because everything is a lot stronger on New Game Plus, but we're going to show off this build that everyone uses to beat this game. So the main idea is to one-shot everything with Scandal, Standal or Phantom Strike, I think. Those are the main two abilities we are using. We can also use Guard Down to get the enemy's guard down even further. And that's pretty much the main idea we are doing with Mael. Make the whole thing short. The main idea is to use all the buffs. So everything that deals more damage you are going to equip to Mael. That's that's the short idea. So we have Tainted also here that increases the damage That's one of the more important skills that is going to be useful. The more buffs you have on your character, the stronger you're getting. Shortcut is the ability that's giving us 2 turns. Yeah, after falling below 30 health. Roulette is giving us 200% extra attack when everything is in our favor. I'm not going to go through all of this. I have some stuff here like SOS Rush and SOS Power that you need, so you even hit harder after your health falls down. I'm going to scroll down slowly. You can stop the screen if you want to copy this build. I think there are even some abilities here that are not necessary, like Second Chance and Survivor, that you survive with 1 health. If you get hit, you normally won't get hit if you're using this build. So yeah, that's the short version pretty much. If I would go through anything here, we would be here all day. So I'm just going to jump in a random battle. So yeah, as you've seen, Mokoko or whatever his name is dies right away, and he applies the fire status to the enemy. That means we'll be able to we have a skill that we will be able to do even more damage if the enemy has that status element. So yeah, the main idea is to drop his guard down. You don't really have to do this, but you can do some extra damage this way. And you can use Last Chance next. So you switch to the Virtuous stance, and with Scandal you should pretty much finish off any boss in the game in 1 hit. Yeah, we made like 16,000 damage and we just killed him in 1 hit. So it doesn't matter how strong you are or on what difficulty you're playing the game. You can do this pretty much at any point after you beat these stronger bosses. So yeah, there are some bosses you can't one-shot, but they're in like the tower, and I'm just going to probably show off because I don't want to go too much in depth with these bosses, because with this build you can one-shot pretty much everything. Just have to make sure that oh well, we would need to go to the camp, that we enable that skill so we hit over 100k. So that was a boss in New Game Plus, and a strong boss that we just one-shot with this build. Later on in the game I figured out that the last 2 collectibles are in this tower and behind the final boss with Simon. So we are going to jump back in the other video. I don't even know what we're doing here, but yeah, that's the main idea, how to beat this game very easily, and there's nothing wrong with this. There are some strong bosses in here that you can't one-shot, but they are not required for the Platinum Trophy. So yeah, that is the main reason it is important to always level up your Pictos, because you never know when you'll need them in a battle. And there are not a lot of bosses left. I still had the cap under 100k, so you won't see those crazy numbers that I demonstrated before. Clair has a gimmick that she's doing long combos as the other bosses, but if she hits you, she will heal herself for a lot of health. I think she's almost healing herself for 100k, so if you don't have the damage cap enabled like I did, you could potentially one-shot her here. To fight this boss, you need to complete all of the paintings challenges on the world map. You'll find some paintings that you can enter, and you will enter a world that's black and white. In every of these paintings you find one of these boss's weapons or one of his body parts. You'll need to bring them to one location at the end of those dungeons. It's more like a platforming dungeon than a dungeon you fight enemies in. And if you collected all of them, at the very end you fight this boss. At this point should be no challenge at all, because if you have the one-shot build, you're probably going to one-shot him like I did demonstrate before. Next I decided to collect all the feet, since Ko was in my party for pretty much the whole game. I was only missing a few. This one was this dude that was jumping a lot. He wasn't hard to beat, just a bit tricky to parry because he kept jumping and jumping and jumping and more. There's a similar boss you fight on the world map. He's guarding an entrance to another dungeon. This one seems to be stronger, but yeah, he wasn't really a big challenge at this point. There is a grindy one. You need to reach level 99 for this trophy. There is a merchant you can fight before you face off against Simon. You get a lot of EXP after beating this fight and other items, giving your character more Lumina points for the skills and equipments. As I said, the last two collectibles I needed were behind the last two challenges. So the last music box, I needed to beat all of these challenges in this tower or whatever it's supposed to be. It doesn't take a long time if you're using Mael's one-shot build. It is a bit tricky if the enemies survive, because sometimes you fight more than one enemy here and there is a chance that they survive, but other than that, yeah, this isn't really hard.
I'll lay you to rest, my friend.
And finally, we get to fight Simon, who also isn't a challenge at this point because we can just one-shot him. Yeah, he has good music, but we won't really get to hear it. And after beating Simon, we are only left with the last expedition entry that we need to collect to get the platinum trophy for Expedition 33. Why is it not popping? What happened? Why is it not popping? What did I miss? Oh. Oh no. Oh no. There is one collectible you can miss. You need to get a key for this one from an NPC that you can encounter at the opening of the game. So I decided to just run through the game on New Game Plus, because I had Mael's one-shot build, so I was like, okay, there isn't really going to be anything in this game pose a challenge at this point, so it didn't take too long to do this. I did need to do all the quests related to these entries and everything. I finally had a chance to fight Simon again with Mael, and all we need to do is one-shot him. Oh. Oh no. Oh no. Well, we are dead.
Ready to
I don't even know how am I supposed to beat this boss. I actually have a I don't know if I will use this. This looks so cursed. No. Do I just leave this in? I don't know. I look like one of those dolls. VTuber Platinum Journey number 62. I was unable to beat Simon. He is too strong. He has way too much HP on New Game Plus. I should have seen the warnings. I should have collected the key on the first playthrough from that NPC. This is a message for everyone that comes after. Please, collect the key from the NPC. Don't fight Simon on New Game Plus. He's too strong. I was unable to complete this journey. The expedition has failed. Ryuta out. See you all soon. There's no way. I'm not going to give up that easily. There is one thing I can try. I can technically survive phase 1 with a different party, because phase 1 is relatively easy to deal with. And all the first group needs to do is to mark Simon and that they hit him so he has his defense debuffed. I was not able to do my triple turn combo with Mael before because she can only do that once if her HP drops to 0. So this time even Mael can debuff Simon's defense. I think greater defenseless and the normal defenseless stack, I'm not sure, but just to make extra sure that we do extra damage, we'll do this. If this doesn't kill Simon, I don't know what will. So let's see what happens. As much as I would like to yap about this game more, we're done here. This journey was crazier than I expected. I know there's the DLC, but I already played this game for like 120 hours just to do this. So maybe I'll do an extra video about the DLC. So this is the part where I will ask you to like and comment and check out my other trophy hunts. See you all soon!